once we're done with Beyond the Grid, I can't wait to get far away with it and go beyond this storyline, because Margaret has basically ruined some characters I've loved as a kid, and writing them to be so out of character, it's hard to believe they would do something like that. So Power Rangers issue 37, we pick up where we last left off, where the Rangers landed on the Zeo planet Crystal area, and they say this area is like a giant powder keg waiting to go off. And then we get the revelation, because the Zeo crystals are connected to the Morphin grid, we learn that this planet was somehow connected to reality and thrown off, because it was somehow once connected to the Morphin grid. And they say there's a strong pull of energy coming from the northern area of the island or the planet, and they go there. They turn this chapter into a big road trip. Well, it's actually like a two-page spread where they just travel from place to place, and they eventually make it to that island. And as they make it to the magnetic North Pole, we get a interesting bit of area, which is when the issue falls apart, because it tries to be really sinister and cunning, and then the issue just sort of falls apart. So everyone decides to take a break, and Mike decides to stand watch. And this is where some sort of holographic projector or praetor appears, because Mike is so sleep deprived, or this is one of his powers that is not explained yet, because hey look, Praetor, we haven't seen him for like 3 issues. He's gonna show up again, because you know, the final battle is drawing near. We still know nothing about him, but hey, he's shown up. That's what's important, I guess. We know nothing about the guy, but hey, he's shown up. So what he does, he messes with Mike, saying no one's going to survive except the Solar Ranger. Your friends won't survive, the Void won't survive, the rebels on the Prometheus ship won't survive, so why don't you do me a favor? You bring me the Solatrix and I'll make sure that Tanya stays alive. So what he does, he preys on Mike's weakness, that he doesn't want to lose loved ones. And he says like, hey Mike, if you bring me the Solatrix, I'll make sure you and Tanya survive. Blah blah blah, goopity goopity goop. Evil speech to make him seem so sinister, to manipulate Mike into like stealing and betraying the team. And it eventually works. Mike steals the Solatrix for Praetor. Now I understand that Mike in this arc, or how Margaret is writing him, he's meant to be some sort of soldier that's got post-traumatic stress, and he doesn't want to lose any more loved ones. He thinks Leo's dead, he's lost too many people, he's already died once, stuff like that. But I get the feeling that Mike just handed it over so easily. I mean, he got 4 pages of this giant speech, and after that he just handed it over. He didn't have any second thoughts. He just thought, hey, I want to protect Tanya, make sure she's alright, which I can understand that he wants to protect Tanya and make sure she's alright because he loves her. But the fact that he didn't have any second thoughts about it is sort of like that part in the movie, you know, when you watch a movie and they do something to betray the team and they end up stealing something from their loved one. That's how this sort of plot thread turned out. Like the almost second half of the movie where they steal something to lose the trust of everyone and the group turns to shit. And that's what happens on the next page. The group turns to shit and they start arguing with one another. So Ari wakes up and is in panic that the Solatrix is gone because everyone's powerless against the Praetor. So Remy starts pointing fingers at Kim. No, wait, I gotta get this in order, because it starts in this big circle of everyone fucking pointing fingers at everyone and arguing until Andros, like, is a total dick in this arc. Like, he's been a total asshole in this arc. Like, sure, Andros has had his moments in this arc, but he's been written so out of character, whether he be, like, early season in Space Andros, but, like, Margaret has written him to be so selfish in a way that he only cares about Corone, and that's the only thing he's been caring about since this arc started, which they all point out very interesting. They all point out saying that's the only thing you cared about. So, how does this start off with everyone pointing fingers? I'm looking at the page now. So, Ari wakes up, panics. Andros points fingers at Remy because of that whole talk he had with that whole talk she had with Corone last issue. Remy points fingers at Kim because of the whole bonding moment they had with how many people she's killed. Heckle then defends Kim and calls her a worm-ridden stray. Mike tries to say, like, Mike then tries to point fingers at Heckle, then Cam tries to point fingers at Mike, and then Ari tries to like calm down the situation or something like that, but it just turns into shit with everyone pointing fingers. And then Andros, he's angry. He wants to throw fists because his hands are clenched, and Remy gives this big speech saying, "What gives you the right to accuse us, Andros? You got your sister back." And then she goes on this big speech saying how everyone's done everything. Kim turned traitor, Mike lost his brother, Tanya lost her friends, Cam lost his family, Heckle lost his whole planet, and Andros is the only thing with nothing to lose because he's got Corone on this planet. He's got something to fight for. And this is where everyone sort of turns against Andros by saying the whole mission, everything's been distracted by him saying, Corone, 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 I've got to find Corone. And he's been with her this whole time at her side, like he won't let her out of her sight. And this is where Andros, this is not drawn that well. Oh no, wait, I get it. I'm trying to realize how this is drawn, because Andros is pointing fingers at Remy and thinks that everyone's saying that, oh, you're trying to take Ari away from me. So she either takes Andros' spiral saber from her and attacks Ari, or Andros attacks Ari. I don't know. It's not drawn that well. Now, I get it, because you see it on the final panel. I've read this like 3 times and I'm still trying to decipher the art. The art isn't bad this month, to be honest. Like, the art actually looks pretty good. It's mostly because it's more colourful this time. The lighting looks good and the contrast and stuff like that. But it's just the characters and how they act is just so out of character for everyone. So what I believe is going on, Andros has stabbed Ari. He's stricken at her, made her spiral saber go right through her. And that's where sort of where the page ends, where he stabs Ari, she falls to the ground, and then he jumps up in the air. Heckle jumps up in the air to fight him. I gotta admit, that's really cool. That's a really cool drawn panel where we've got Remy tending to Ari on the ground. Everyone's about to throw fists with each other and turn each other. Like, Heckle is about to fight Andros, Cam is about to fight Mike, Tanya is about to fight Kim. Everyone has turned on each other at the end of this arc, and Ari looks like she's dying, and as she eyes widen, she goes into this void where you see Praetor, and he's this big hologram projector, which is like the only way we've seen him throughout this arc. We've seen him in the throne room, but everything else, he's been this giant projector that plays mind games with everyone. And that's where the issue ends. Everyone's about to fight each other and Ari looks like she's dying. So was this a good issue or not? It was average, alright. I don't want to call it downright fucking terrible, but this issue seemed like a filler issue where, because it was full with so much dialogue, it felt like nothing paid off. It's just building up towards the final conclusion of Beyond the Grid, because Beyond the Grid ends in issue 39. We've got 2 more issues to go with Beyond the Grid and then it's done. And this issue just felt like it was padding with that whole long dialogue that Praetor gave to Mike, because that was like 3 to 4 pages of him trying to manipulate Mike to join his side. Sure, we got a few double spread pages as well during this issue, but we could have done without that whole giant speech of him trying to manipulate Mike to the dark side of the Force so he can steal the solar tricks and make like Praetor arrive and just hand it over to him so he can be the only survivor and stuff like that. But this issue, it was average. I don't want to say it was downright fucking terrible. It was average because Rangers seem like they're acting so out of character with how Margaret's writing them. They don't seem like, I know everyone's out of their element. They're in a void. They're not in Angel Grove, or they're not on Terra Venture, or they're not in the Juice Bar and stuff like that. They're out of their like element and they don't know where they are. So of course we're at the point where everyone's going to turn on each other. We're going to have a mutiny, and then they're all going to realize, hey, we shouldn't fight each other, we should fight Praetor, the big bad guy over there. That's how I feel like this issue is, like this arc is going to end, because I get the feeling this big cliffhanger where everyone's going to fight, and that's where they left it off, that's going to be resolved in like a panel or a page where they're going to see Prey looming over him because he arrives on the island, and they're like, shit, we got bigger fish to fry, and then they're going to team up and make up later. Now, I've already made a video talking about my problems with Beyond the Grid, like the writing and the pacing and the characters and stuff like that, but this arc, the pacing I have to talk about. Like, Margaret does not know how to like pace this series that well, because we're nearly at the end. We're nearly at the end of Beyond the Grid. We've got 2 more issues to go. No doubt about it, the next issue is going to be leading up to like the big finale we'll get in Beyond the Grid that's going to lead into issue 40 of For Necessary Evil. But how are they going to wrap things up? I know that like we've got that cover. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but it's going to show the Rangers getting some sort of brand new power up, and I'm sure you've seen it or you haven't seen it. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but I know no doubt about it, whatever's going to happen in issue 37 is going to lead into issue 39, and then we're going to have Necessary Evil in issue 40 in June. But this whole arc just seems like a mess all over the place. Like, it's one of the weaker arcs, and it can't hold a candle to Beyond the Grid, not Beyond the Grid, Shattered Grid, because Shattered Grid was so good, like nothing can compare to that, and it's a hard thing to follow up from. But Beyond the Grid has just been all over the place. I mean, I enjoyed it, I didn't enjoy it, I have no idea what is going on with these characters and how they're acting. It's just, I get the feeling Margaret doesn't know what she's doing. She kind of like, I know she wants to write the Power Ranger story that she wants to write, but I feel like the way she's writing it is not suitable for everyone else to enjoy, and that's why so many people have fallen off this arc. So that pretty much wraps up my review of Power Rangers issue 37. Overall, it was a mixed bag of opinions on this issue. The art was pretty good, but the storytelling was not so good. Overall, tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your opinion. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.